Can God change his mind? How we answer that question has important theological consequences. For example, it means, how much does God really know? Is God free? If he can't change his mind, then why bother praying? And if God sympathizes with us, doesn't that mean he should be able to change his mind? In our first reading today, we hear a story about Hezekiah. And Hezekiah has become sick. And it appears that God changes his mind because God sends the prophet Isaiah to go to him and says, "Put your house in order, your days are numbered. This is the end." Hezekiah repents, he prays fervently, and then God sends Isaiah again and says, "God has heard your prayer and has given you 15 more years." It's kind of a curious thing to think about. You've got 15 more years. But it seems like God changed his mind. But if we believe this, and this is a type of theology called process theology, or that God can evolve and change, that means that God becomes like sort of a glorified AI. And if we believe this process theology, as many Christian philosophers have, there are some important consequences. It means that God can make mistakes. It means that God's view of the future isn't complete. It means that God truly doesn't know all. So how can he know how to act in our best interest or in the best interest of everyone? But we believe that God is all-knowing or omniscient. We believe that God is free or sovereign. We believe that God is all-powerful or omnipotent. These are things that other passages of the scripture have revealed to us and have been verified by our tradition, because God sees the whole picture. And what's important to remember is that prayer doesn't change God, prayer changes us. God doesn't give us illness, he doesn't give us death, but prayer can change us. If we go back to the story of Hezekiah, he is changed by this experience. When he remembers his death, when he knows that he has his own limitations, he turns to God. He's humbled. That's a great thing. Prayer changes us. And we're reminded that God has sent his son to walk among us, who knows compassion, who shows us sympathy, and reminds us that God walks with us, but God also sees where we're going.